I hid my diagnosis from my kids. Was I wrong or just protecting them? When people talk about honesty in families, they often say there should be no secrets between loved ones. But life isn't always that simple, is it? My name is Richard. I'm 74 years old. I worked as a mechanical engineer for over 4 decades. I'm a widower. My wife, Ellen, passed away when I was 42. Since then, I raised our 2 sons on my own, David and Mark. I changed diapers, packed school lunches, fixed broken bikes, attended every baseball game I could, and cried alone on my porch when they left for college. I've always been what you'd call a quiet strength kind of man. I never liked to burden others. Not with my stress, not with my sadness, and especially not with my struggles. Last spring, I went for my annual physical. I felt a little off, a slight tremble in my left hand, stiffness in my joints. I thought, probably arthritis. Old bones. Nothing serious. But after a series of tests, the doctor sat me down and said, "Richard, I'm afraid it's early-stage Parkinson's." I don't remember much after that. His voice became a blur of medical jargon. My ears were ringing. I walked out of that clinic into the parking lot and sat in my car for what felt like hours, gripping the steering like it was the only thing anchoring me to the earth. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in silence. The same kind of silence that's been my companion since Ellen passed. I didn't tell anyone, not David, who calls me every Sunday without fail to check in, even with 3 kids of his own. Not Mark, who sent me photos of his dog every week with captions like, "Dad, he's got your appetite." I thought, what would be the point in telling them? What could they do but worry? What could I gain but guilt? Seeing their eyes cloud over every time they looked at me, wondering if this would be the day I start to decline. I told myself I was protecting them. I told myself I was being strong. But strength, I've come to learn, can become a prison. Because over the months, the symptoms progressed. My hand trembled more. I started dropping things. One afternoon, I was peeling an apple and the knife slipped. It wasn't a deep cut, but it bled. A lot. I stumbled to the bathroom to patch it up, and when I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, pale, trembling, alone, something broke. I realized I was scared, not of dying, but of doing alone, of slowly fading from the life I'd built without anyone even realizing how much I was hurting. That night, I called David. I hadn't planned what to say. I just blurted out, "Son, I need to talk to you about something." He got quiet. I think he knew it was serious. Maybe he heard it in my voice. I told him about the diagnosis, about why I kept it secret, about the fear of being seen as weak, as less than the father he remembered. There was a pause. Then David said, "Dad, you taught me that being a man means taking care of your family. But I wish you had also taught me that it's okay to let your family take care of you." His words cut through me, not with anger, but with love. He wasn't disappointed. He was heartbroken that I didn't trust him with my pain. A few days later, Mark flew in from Texas. We sat on the back porch, just like we used to. 2 beers, a bowl of peanuts, silence between us. Then he said, "Dad, if I ever had something this big going on in my life, would you want me to hide it from you?" I shook my head. "Of course not." He looked me in the eye and said, "Then why did you think I'd want that from you?" That night, I cried, truly cried, for the first time in over a decade. Not just because I was afraid, but because for the first time, I allowed myself to be vulnerable. And in doing so, I gave my sons permission to love me the way I had always loved them. Fiercely, unconditionally, without hesitation. Since then, things have changed. David installed grab bars in my bathroom. Mark goes with me to my physical therapy appointments when he's in town. We talk, really talk, in a way we never did before. They don't look at me with pity. They look at me with pride. Because I chose to trust them. Because I chose to fight not alone, but with them by my side. To anyone listening out there, especially the fathers, the uncles, the grandfathers, I know how hard it is to admit you're not invincible. But here's what I've learned. Hiding pain doesn't make it disappear. Carrying it alone doesn't make you stronger. And letting the people who love you step in, that doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave. Because love, real love, is a two-way street. You gave your family your strength for years. Let them return the favor. Don't wait until it's too late to say, I need you. Thank you for listening. This was episode 7 of Autumn Stories of Life. If this story reminded you of someone in your life, a parent, a friend, maybe even yourself, share it.